Get ready to gaslight. Gatekeep. And girl boss. Because today we're talking about TikTok's most hated band. If you've gone on TikTok, the app that is competing with Twitter for the most hell contained in one experience, at all in the last 2 weeks, you've seen something about this band.
I'd rather die than hook up with another straight white guy. I'd rather die.
This is Tramp, a relatively new band that's making music for some reason. I don't know why anyone would make music. Art is bad. On their website, they describe themselves as sharp-witted, irreverent, and fantastically unfiltered. They don't care about your cancel culture, they're just gonna go for it. They're a high-energy clash of pop and skate punk, kinda like early Katy Perry but with swear words. It comprises 3 women, Marisa Mano, Caroline Baker, and Paige Blue. If I mispronounced your name, Caroline, I'm so sorry. Caroline's just a very foreign name and I don't know how to pronounce it. All of these people have been making music for a long time, and 2 of them are actually signed to pretty big publishing companies. So as far as new acts go, this isn't really a bad concept, you know, getting people who know what they're doing on board. Old Avril Lavigne songs and old Paramore songs are still popular today, even if the artists that made them have moved on. There's nothing wrong with trying to capture that aesthetic, right? Well, apparently not. It feels like all the internet convened on this one band at once to shit on it. I've heard so much about them in the last couple weeks, and it's been 99% negative comments about their music, their aesthetic, their appearance, and most importantly, their lack of authenticity. When I'd Rather Die started circulating, a bunch of people immediately started dunking on it for kind of how calculated it all felt. They're not trying to hide who their intended audience is, you can pick up on it within about 10 seconds. They want to sell punk to alternative TikTok teens. Unfortunately for them, alternative TikTok teens are some of the most cynical people alive. They don't trust anything, and they are desperate for authenticity to the point where at least feeling like their art is coming from a legitimate place is borderline a requirement for anything they're gonna enjoy. Tramp stamps kind of don't do this, and they have paid the ultimate price for it. Because, as we know, teenagers can be very mean. I know this because I made YouTube videos in high school and people actually saw them. But never mind my trauma. The initial gut reaction to seeing these women that have kind of dyed their hair like the Powerpuff Girls, they're making like mid-2000s nostalgia throwback music and all their lyrics are about hating men. Every one of these 3 things is kind of a trend right now, so seeing all 3 of them in tandem kind of felt like a calculated move, even if individually they're totally fine. Generally, there's nothing wrong with making music for a specific audience, but if you're gonna do that, you should probably understand them. And they should have realized that this shit is far too sincere for the most irony-poisoned faction of the population currently alive. I saw them being called posers. Posers, like it's the 90s and we're talking about grunge, but it's these TikTok women. Posers like basically a dead insult today, but I saw it lodged at the Tramp stamps, among other things, but definitely the main insult that they were given was industry plant. Okay, so let's talk about industry plants for a second. Because if we're gonna call people something, we should at least understand what it means. The term is pretty nebulous because it's also pretty much meaningless at this point. Anything that got big enough for you to know about was probably marketed somehow by someone who was in it for a reason other than being all about the music, man. Industry plant is mainly a pejorative term for an artist who it feels like their hype is inorganic. Like it was developed behind the scenes by a label and manufactured for the sole purpose of success. But really, there's nothing wrong with being an industry plant. Travis Scott is one, and he has shaped mainstream music to come, and he's also made some really good music, and people really like him. The main way you catch people's ire is if you're an industry plant and you pretend you aren't. If Ariana Grande hopped on and said she built herself up from the ground up with no help, people would probably have some things to say about it. So if you're gonna be manufactured, you have to own it. Machine Gun Kelly is doing a very similar style of music to the Tramp stamps, but everyone kind of knows it's a bit bullshit, and the fakeness is what people like about it. At the end of the day, most people really don't care about anything like this. The only people that really do care are like alternative teens and, you know, people in the punk scene. So if you're trying to make punk music for alternative teens, you're basically fucked. You need to be making music on a calculator in your uncle's house if you want to be authentic enough for someone like that. And this must be very frustrating for the Tramp stans, because the only people they're trying to impress will reject them every time, because they just have experience in making commercial music that is like a general pop song. It's kind of sad but really funny predicament to be in. It'd be like if an incel tried to recreate the appeal of Cardi B. So far in this story, the Tramp stamps haven't actually really done anything wrong besides post a bit of cringe, but who doesn't from time to time? But since now they've activated this hatred of an online mob, they've decided to go deeper and look for more things to talk about. And what they found doesn't really look good. Initially, they just listened to the song in full, and some of the lyrics are a bit sus. Basically, the second verse is complaining about the fact that drunk men are bad at sex, and, you know, it's not fair that drunk men can't do more sex at them. General rule, don't fuck drunk people. It is a crime. But the Tramp stamps think this reading of the lyrics is stupid, so I guess it's up to your interpretation, whatever. What's not up to interpretation is the publishing company that two of the girls are signed to is owned by a man named Dr. Luke. I've talked about Dr. Luke before on this channel. I'm not going to reiterate what he did. People don't like that Tramp stamps exists partially for the profit of him, and that is a completely valid criticism, and that's not going to go away. Yeah, there's also old tweets of one of the girls saying the N-word. If I was a Tramp stamps fan, I'd probably be bothered by that too. So, safe to say there's criticisms of this band that runs deeper than women cringe, so they naturally kind of had to respond to it. It's a very difficult thing to respond to an online hate mob, even if you're apologizing, but it's way harder to defend yourself. Everything you say will be taken in bad faith, and it's usually better to say nothing unless you're 100% so clearly in the right that there's no room for interpretation at all. So when Tramp stamps went on Instagram and published their response to the backlash they received, it entirely predictably got torn to shreds. They don't even mention Dr. Luke once. They spend most of it getting into a semantic debate about what an industry plant even means, which is wasted time. See, the publishing company they signed to just pays for, markets, and profits off the songs. So no label involvement there. I'm the Joker. I think they messed up by focusing on the industry plant allegation, because it's a pretty meaningless term, and if people don't buy your authenticity, they're gonna call you an industry plant no matter what the technical aspects of your situation actually is. If you have any connection to any label, if you've even looked at someone from a label before, you're never gonna shake that. Admittedly, the response goes into some other things. They called out the Rolling Stone for saying they're like marketing themselves being queer, and I think that's a good response that was actually warranted. I think the Rolling Stone should not have said they were using queer identity to sell their music, because I'm pretty sure they just are gay. And they also say that none of this would have happened to them if they were men. And I gotta agree. We've had fun here, but I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't talk about it at least once. Is TikTok being fair? Sounding terrible isn't a crime. Having lyrics that shit on the opposite sex is not a crime. We let men say horrible things about women and it's just fine. They would probably be entirely ignored if they weren't unironically being women online. Because, like, at the end of the day, they're basically young blood by women. Like, surely making the same type of thing, but being much more public, would level him more scrutiny than the Tramp stamps get if gender played no part in this, but it obviously did. Because, like, while there's real problematic elements to their music and their management that we've pointed out already, that's not what's driving the backlash, is it? Many musicians get away with being industry plants or being bad or saying the N-word when they're 15 or their music profiting Dr. Luke. It's just that this band posted cringe. Because it's not really any of that sparked the harassment, like, so what did? There's a term originating in early internet Kiwi Farms core community called a lolcow. These are people who become objects of public ridicule for a community as they've been deemed so cringeworthy that literally anything they say or do forever can be considered content. They become obsessed with these. You can go online and watch days upon days of content about the creator of the Sonichu comic, and it's not out of admiration. It's fully just bullying to the maximum extent because we just pick a target and go at it forever until there's nothing left, until you milk the teat dry. This has been an internet pastime for decades, and like collectively dunking on someone that you all agree deserves it isn't going away anytime soon. We're in the phase of TikTok having such an established community that they have their own lolcows, and the tramp stamps accidentally became one of them. There's others like the vegan teacher. Because if we're being real for a second, I'm gonna get the lowdown with you. Teens love bullying, but we currently live in a society that makes people feel bad about bullying other people. So, the only way to bully people, which is something they really want to do, is get a whole community of people to deem them as bad, actually, so that you can bully them without feeling bad, because now you're taking arms against racism. If you can sell that you aren't bullying them because they're cringe, you're bullying them because they're secretly mega racist behind the shadows, then you're the good person now. Go on, tell those women online to kill themselves. You're the hero. You are now morally in the right for making fun of these women online. But you aren't really, are you? But honestly, at the end of the day, this is the internet, and the Greek tragedy of this all is kind of an entertaining marvel to see. Seeing something that had this much time, this much planning, this much effort just go down in flames is riveting content to me. Because to be clear, I'd Rather Die failed by every conceivable metric. This song was recorded, produced, mixed, released. They made a music video. They made merch. They had to defend themselves from the largest harassment mob TikTok has ever seen. All for a song that ended up with less than a third of the Spotify streams that I did when I released a song in 2018. Literally a viral sensation that ended up less successful than me. It's unfair to say they brought this whole situation upon themselves. That being said, they probably shouldn't have done this, considering it seems like every 14-year-old on the planet would have had the foresight to never attempt this. So, in conclusion, do they deserve what they're going through? No. Was this entirely preventable? Absolutely. Yeah, I think I ended up being way nicer to them than I thought I was gonna be when I started writing this video. I kind of was like, haha, cringe band, let's talk about bad music, but I ended up kind of thinking about it a lot. But at the end of the day, I don't think it should be ignored that their music is garbage and they should improve it. In its current state, it is hypocritical sludge. You cannot claim to be for progressive politics and incorporate the ideas and aesthetics of the punk scene and then be willfully obtuse about sexual assault. You cannot claim to be taking down white boy privilege when your whole band is for the profit of Dr. Luke, the final boss of the patriarchy. I think they're talented people, which is why I think all these label people have faith in them, so I think they should probably just call it quit on the tramp stamps, go back to the drawing board, and come back with something new in a little bit. Whatever you do, do not transparently try to pander to a demographic of people who will always reject you and then get mad at them for not liking it. Because if you keep doing that, you will fail every time. In an ideal world, this video would be the final nail in the coffin, so that, you know, nobody ever talks about it again and I can stop seeing this whenever I go on TikTok. But, you know, since this is a lolcow, it'll probably be milked completely dry. But honestly, this is all I had to say about it. And if you're thinking of, you know, making an epic TikTok dunk on them, I hope you reconsider, because it's really not worth your time anymore. Like, whatever you want tramp stamps to know, they've heard it loud and clear by now. Now, if they ever actually get, like, properly famous and massive and, like, you know, people liking their music says something about the current state of the world that we live in, then we can talk about something. But until then, just leave it alone. It doesn't affect you. Because remember, your time is valuable, so you should spend it watching me. If you click the subscribe button, you get the serotonin of a nice mouse click, and I get the serotonin of watching my number go up. So it's a win-win for both of us, please. I'd like to thank my friend Marcus for telling me basically everything I know about tramp stamps. Yeah, and their YouTube link will be in the description if you want to watch that. Bye-bye!